Warm greetings to everyone in whatever time zone you may be. My name is Russ Gannum, and I am the Dean of International Programs at the University of Iowa. On behalf of the Office of International Programs and the Center for Asian and Pacific Studies, I'm delighted to welcome you to our Lunar New Year celebration. Our motivation for organizing this event is twofold. First, we wish to honor the traditions surrounding the coming of spring in parts of the world where we have deep and abiding connections, specifically China, Japan, Korea, and Southeast Asia. Secondly, in this time of the pandemic, we seek to provide a platform where our community can come together, albeit virtually, to commemorate these activities and learn more about them. The best way to do this is, of course, through food. So please enjoy the cooking demonstrations, take notes, and I'll join you and the chefs for further conversation later in the program. Before I turn things over to Cynthia Chow, however, who is the director of the Center for Asian and Pacific Studies, I would like to thank our staff and international programs for putting this event together, specifically Dong Long Liu, the associate director of CAPS, Saralta Peterson, Amy Green, and Amy Brewster in our Department of Communications and Constituent Relations. Thanks to each of you for your hard work in putting together such a wonderful event. And now I will turn things over to Cynthia, who has a greeting herself to give you.
Well, welcome and good evening or good morning, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Cynthia Chow, and I'm the incumbent director for the Center for Asian and Pacific Studies at the University of Iowa. Well, thank you very much for joining us for this special global webinar, Lunar New Year celebration. All across Asia, the arrival of spring is celebrated, and for the Chinese, Koreans, and various Southeast Asian communities, it is marked with the beginning of the new year on the lunar calendar. Although the Japanese celebrate the new year earlier, according to the Gregorian calendar, on January the 1st, we're all coming together for this joint Chinese, Korean, Japanese, Southeast Asian Lunar New Year celebration. And for this joyous occasion, we bring together past and present students, faculty members, and friends of the University of Iowa from all over the world to celebrate this special day. And for this evening, we have put together a program comprising 3 segments. We begin with a live discussion with UI faculty about what Lunar New Year means to them before bringing greetings and messages from alumni and students. And then in the final part, our faculty and student turned chefs for tonight share Lunar New Year recipes with you. Enjoy their cooking demonstrations and a discussion with them for cooking tips. Now, without further ado, let's begin. And I'd like to invite the faculty panel to switch on their videos and audios now. Joining me in the first segment of this evening's programs are Dr. Kendall Heinzman, Nana Onishi, perhaps if you could wave and then people could see you, thank you. Sang-Suk Un, Yuen Lu, and Asima from the Department of Asian and Slavic Languages and Literatures, and Dr. Tobin Choi is from the Department of Philosophy. Now for me personally, I grew up in Singapore, and celebrating the Lunar New Year has always been something special. And it'll be a time to wear a new dress and for my mother to bring out the gold necklaces and bracelets from the safe deposit boxes for us to wear just for those few days in the entire year. And it'll also be a time to exchange oranges and red packets with relatives, and there'll be great feasting. So here's my first question for the panelists in this segment. Could you share with us the various Spring Festival or Lunar New Year traditions in Japan or Korea or China, and how you and your family celebrate this occasion? Perhaps we could begin with Dobin.
Hi, I'm Dobin. I'm teaching Chinese philosophy here in University of Iowa, and I'm really happy to share my experience about celebrating Lunar New Year. For me, Lunar New Year is something special because I always watched TV when I was young, during the Lunar New Year. Because I I didn't have this fortune to celebrate Lunar New Year because I'm the descendant of North Korean families. So my grandparents didn't have any family members in South Korea. So we, instead of celebrating Lunar New Year, we celebrate the Solar New Year. So whenever we meet our family members in Lunar New Year, it was a little bit upset. And surprisingly, celebrating Lunar New Year in South Korea is not somewhat discouraged for a long time. It became a holiday in 1985. And before then, governments and during the Japanese occupation days, celebrating Lunar New Year is somewhat prohibited. So it is connected with the democracy. And it's after the Korean democracy was revived, the Lunar New Year celebration tradition has been revived as well. So whenever I see this celebration, I remember the old days when I was young, seeing my parents' facial expressions and seeing my grandparents crying about that. Sorry about sharing this sad experience. Even though I'm the first speaker of this panel. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Kendall, what about you? Okay, I think we're having some problems with Kendall. So while he's trying to fix that, perhaps Sang-suk, could you give us your reflections? Yep.
Hi, my name is Sang-suk Yoon. Let me talk more general things about Lunar New Year, New Year's Day in Korea. Lunar New Year's Day is called Seollal. Seollal is a time for remembering ancestors, visiting family members, eating delicious food, and doing fun activities. During Seollal holidays, families gather and eat delicious traditional food and perform ancestral rites. On Seollal morning, people eat tteokguk, which is rice cake soup, and Jeonghwa is going to show how to make tteokguk today. Traditionally in Korea, age is counted from the first day of a year rather than an individual birthday. So eating a tteokguk, a bowl of tteokguk, means you get 1 year older and wiser. And on Seollal morning, people wear Korean traditional clothes, which is called hanbok. And it is a tradition that children wear hanbok and give formal big bows to their elders. And in return, they receive bow money, which is called sebaeton. So throughout Seollal holidays, Korean people exchange well wishes with each other, like 새해 복 많이 받으세요, which means please receive lots of good fortune for the new year. So I would like to tell you all, 새해 복 많이 받으세요. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yenlu.
Hi, I'm Yuan Lu, and I am the coordinator of a Chinese program. And for my family, I think Lunar New Year is all about family reunion. Because in China, no matter how far you are away from home, on the eve of Lunar New Year, you go back home to reunion with your family members. So in my family, we cook the dinner for the Chinese New Year Eve, and we eat together and we watch TV together, and we just share that private time with all the family members, and that is the most, I would say, the happiest time of the year.
Thank you, Yenlu. What about Si?
My name is Ma Xi. I'm also with the Chinese program. Like what Yuan has shared, I think Chinese Spring Festival, the Lunar New Year's, may be the most important traditional festival in China. People do not celebrate for only one day. We actually prepare for it about a month ahead of time and celebrate for a whole 2 weeks. I have this memory when I was little, my family would start to prepare for all varieties of food, snacks, buying new clothing, preparing gifts for relatives and friends very early on. And we start to clean the house a week before the New Year's Eve. So have a thorough cleaning so everything look pretty and ready for the New Year's Eve. As in Yuan's family, of course, you have a lavish food for the New Year's Eve, including dumplings for most Northerners in China. And everybody has to have a fish on the dinner table because a fish is yu. That sounds like another character, yu in Chinese, which means surplus. So eating fish means in the upcoming New Year, you will have some savings, some surplus. In my family, the next week following the New Year's Eve is time to pay New Year's visit to my relatives. My dad has a big family, so he would bring me to visit my uncles the next day of the Chinese New Year. Usually it's winter, snowy days, so we would work on the street for about 20 minutes when we stop by people's house, looking at their red couplets for the door decoration, and he would ask me to recognize those characters and talk about the meaning behind it, to see what kind of good wish people have for the upcoming New Year, and we would just rank which ones you like best. So it's like a game. The Chinese New Year always reminds me of those very happy childhood memories. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, Kendall, can we give you a try again? Is your audio working now?
How about now? Can you hear me this time?
Very good. Yes, we can finally. Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm so sorry about the technical difficulties. Well, I'm a newcomer to New Year's in Japan, of course. I didn't celebrate it as a child in Minnesota. So I'm sure that Onishi Sensei is going to have some great memories that I don't have. But I love New Year's in Japan. I've gone to ring the temple bell at midnight, and if you choose the right temple, you'll get a turn at the bell, and you can ring it one of the 108 times that they ring it. And I love going for the first shrine visit of the year. We always go to the same place every year. And the other thing that really interests me about New Year's in Japan, as you said earlier, Japan has shifted to a Western calendar New Year. And that means that the entire annual calendar of events shifted with it, but not everything. And so that calendar shift in Japan has, for example, created multiple Tanabatas, the summer festival. And some people are celebrating it on July 7th, and some people are celebrating it in August, closer to when the seventh day of the seventh month on the traditional calendar would have been. And some people celebrate it according to the lunar calendar. And of course, some people in Japan are celebrating the Chinese New Year as well. And so it's a very complicated place, and you can celebrate as much as you want to celebrate. That's all.
Thank you. Anna, what about your reflections?
So besides what Heisman Sensei said, my family, I had two celebrations. One is with my father's side, and the other one is with my mother's side. So on December 30th, we went to my father's grandparents, and then we pounded a mochi, which is rice cake. And then we prepared round-shaped mochi to offer the god. And we also used the mochi for the New Year's cuisine, which Professor Nishi is going to demonstrate, which is called zoni. So that was a fun memory for me. And we eat osechi, which is like a bento box for New Year's. And then we eat and chat, and then we shared a very happy memories. And as a kid, I think it's kind of shared customs, but we kids receive gift of cash from adults. So that was a fun memory I have. And with my mother's side, we also eat we ate osechi, but we did hanetsuki, which is like a Japanese badminton. We used like board, and then we played with my mother and then grandmother, brother. That was fun memory, and we ate a lot of delicious food, so that was a happy memory.
Great, thank you. Now, I have one more question for this panel, and that is, what does the Spring Festival or the Lunar New Year mean to you personally? Now, I think I'd like to begin with Kendall before we lose that audio connection with you.
I hope you can hear me again. For me, when this event was being sponsored by the Chinese program, I would try to go whenever I could. And so I'm so happy that we're all doing it together this year. And so for me, the Lunar New Year really means all of my friends here in Iowa City and all of our wonderful colleagues and students in all of the East Asian programs. And so for me, it really represents this sense of the bigger community here. And I'm so happy to be here with you guys tonight.
Great, thank you. You've captured the essence of, what we're doing this evening, to come together to celebrate a very joyous occasion. Dobin?
Yeah. Hi. I'm embarrassed because I speak up with my personal experience ahead. But whenever I think about 설날, as Professor Yoon explained, 설날 is a kind of memorable moment for my life, to think about my ancestors and my grandparents and some sufferings of them. I keep talking about sufferings, because my grandfather, who was a scholar at the time, he always studied more passionately on the 설날. So after giving 세배, we make a bow to each other and to the elderly people, and to get some 세뱃돈 as well. And he went back to his study. And I when I was young, I was so interested in his studying scene. So I was the only small child who asked questions to my grandfather. So 설날, Lunar New Year always remind me of that scene.
Thank you. Lu Yan?
I think the Lunar New Year means different things to me during the different time period. When I was a kid, I didn't have a job, so I don't have money. But during the Spring Festival, I receive red pockets from my relatives and my parents. So Spring Festival means financial freedom. So you can use the money to buy whatever you want, the snacks, the toys, But when I grew up and went to school, and during the spring break, you don't have homework, you don't have exams. So Spring Festival means worry-free from schoolwork. Okay, and nowadays, I am in US and my family members and relatives in China. So we are on the Skype a lot during the spring break. So we talked a lot to each other during the Lunar New Year, and we share what we have accomplished in the past year, and we make a New Year resolution. And every time I make New Year resolution, I remind myself to make a doable New Year resolution.
Thank you.
And nowadays, just the family time. Yeah.
Thank you. Nana?
So personally, New Year's is family gathering and then delicious food, and we just relax and then don't really worry about other things. And then Spring Festival here, because I'm teaching, and then there are lots of students from China and sometimes from Korea. So they share their experience for the Spring Festival here in the States with their friends or family. So that is becoming a big part of me celebrating Spring Festival here.
Thank you. And Marcy?
I think I have to echo Yuan with that carefree, very happy, absolutely happy hour for children. I think your feeling about the Lunar New Year definitely differs as you grow older. I think everything that we took for granted when we were little becomes very relevant when I started abroad in America, because everything people prepared for you, did for you, your family, your friends back in China. If you want to experience it again, you do it yourself. So by doing that, it kind of like you bring those traditions back to life, and you learn by doing. And when you learn and teach Chinese to your students, you are sharing your tradition and those values you hold dear to you, to those people who hold very intrinsic interest in your own culture. They want to know about you, about your country, about your culture, where you're from, what made you. So that, I think, creates new meanings to Chinese New Year for me. And as Yuan said, people in China likes to make plans for the New Year in the springtime because they think all year's plan starts in spring. I think during this year, it's especially meaningful because I think it's time for people to put aside maybe not so happy memories and experience of the past year, and have something to anticipate and expect for like brighter future. Yeah.
Thank you. And Sang-suk?
Yeah, I have been living in the United States for about 20 years. And, ever since I have living in the United States, Seollal is just a normal day, just a working day. So all we can do is just calling our parents, on Seollal morning to Korea. So yeah, it's a day when we miss our families in Korea. But we try to keep our tradition by eating tteokguk at least. So not on the Seollal morning, but sometime near Seollal. And since I'm teaching this Korean language and culture to students, it's a day for education. So we have big events teaching students how to bow and teaching Korean traditional games kind of thing. But we cannot do that this year. But I'm happy we can do this kind of virtual event today. And I have one daughter, and I'm trying to, teach my daughter. So, we try to wear hanbok and, let my daughter, bow to us, and, we give her some money. So, so that she can remember, she can have her own memory of Seollal. So yeah, we are simply, celebrating Seollal in this way, but I'm trying to maintain our own tradition by teaching my students and teaching my daughter. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Kendall, Nana, Sang-suk, Dobin, Si, and Yen for sharing the Lunar New Year joy with us. And now we move into segment 2 of the program. Now, the Lunar New Year is a time to catch up with family and friends, old and new. And here now is a splendid montage of greetings from students and alumni to usher in the Lunar New Year.
Hello everyone, konnichiwa. My name is Aya Hamanaka, and I am an undergraduate student at the University of Iowa, and I am currently recording this video in Iowa City. I have always lived in Iowa, but because my parents are Japanese, we celebrate Oshogatsu, or the New Year in the Japanese tradition. That means that on the 31st of December, I watched the Kohaku Utagassen, a New Year's Eve television special in which music artists compete in a song battle. As the clock nears and strikes midnight, I eat buckwheat soba noodles to pass the year and welcome the new year. On New Year's Day, my family eats osechi, or traditional Japanese New Year foods that hold special meanings that symbolize good fortune. However, because most of the foods require particular ingredients that cannot be bought in the rural town that I grew up in, my grandmother would always order online and have it delivered to us. But in short, the New Year traditions celebrate the coming year, and I see it as an important holiday to spend with family. Finally, I will send everyone off by saying Happy New Year in Japanese. Akemashite omedetou gozaimasu.
Hi, my name is Wesley. I'm from Iowa in the United States, and I've had the privilege of spending several Lunar New Years in South Korea, where it is called Seollal. And for one of these Lunar New Years, I went to see my then girlfriend's parents, and when I visited their home, I got to participate in a couple of culinary activities. One of these was folding dumplings, and part of my then girlfriend's family was of Korean ethnicity, but born in China, that kind of origin. And so reflecting this, they had a couple of different foods, and one of these was dumplings, and I got to participate in the folding of both, traditional Korean kimchi dumplings as well as chive dumplings that I was told were of Chinese origin. And as a part of the New Year's festivities, I also brought a gift set for the parents, as is the custom. Often relatives bring gift sets containing various items, mostly food, to each other. And I got to enjoy a very nice meal. And I watched the men kind of participate in lounging around at the end while the mother cleaned up. And I decided to help her because I just kind of felt bad that she was the only one doing all the work. But anyway, it was a wonderful experience and is probably one of my fondest memories of staying in Korea. So thank you very much and a very happy Lunar New Year to everyone.
Hi, my name is Helen and I go to West High and I take beginning Chinese 4 at the university. Every year for Spring Festival, me and my family invite some friends over and we have a dumpling making party. And we always hide a piece of candy in one of the dumplings, and then whoever gets that dumpling is supposed to have the luckiest year. And then after that, I call my grandparents and relatives who live in Tianjin, and then I wish them a Happy New Year. 新年快乐!
今年的春节是2月12号 ,2021 年是牛年。新年前，人们都会打扫卫生，贴红色的对联和窗花，把家里打扮得喜气一点。家里人会一起吃年夜饭，北方人要吃饺子，南方人会吃年糕。年夜饭也要有鱼，代表年年有余。孩子们喜欢点鞭炮，放烟花。小孩子也特别高兴能得到家长给的压岁钱。
So to me, the Spring Festival and the Lunar New Year have always been about coming together to see your loved ones, your family and your friends, and really just, I don't know, getting to regroup. And people come from, they're all spread out and they all come together and they get to spend time as a family. And I think that's more important now than ever before. And to me also, because it happens in the springtime, I hope that you get the same feeling that I get in the spring, where it's just that feeling of hopefulness where it's like, this truly is a new year and anything can happen. It doesn't have to be like last year or the one before that. So to everybody celebrating the Lunar New Year and the Spring Festival, I hope that you also get that feeling. And I hope that you are, even under these circumstances, able to come together and see the people that you love. So happy Lunar New Year.
Hi, my name's Olivia. I'm a West High student taking beginning Chinese 4, and I'd like to share what I know about Lunar New Year celebrations in China. People hang red lanterns and couplets with well-wishing messages, and children receive red envelopes containing money, which will bring them good luck in the new year. Families gather to eat symbolic foods like fish, dumplings, and long noodles, and watch entertaining lion and dragon dances. Happy Lunar New Year, everyone. Chin Jay Kwaila.
Hi, my name is Michaela, and I want to talk a little bit about Spring Festival, or the Lunar New Year. As we all know, it's an important part of many East Asian cultures, and thanks to the spread of traditions, we are able to experience some of the festivities for ourselves here in the States. What does that actually look like? What does that mean? some of you may already know about Chinese zodiac animals. What you may not know is every year belongs to one of the animals, and depending on the year, a person's fate or fortune can be influenced. And you may also know lanterns are hung and naturally there's food involved, but it's more than that. Celebrations overseas can be very lively and colorful. There are brilliant costumes with traditional dances and traditional music. And of course, you can't forget the exchange of money, right? Actually, the best way to celebrate is with your friends and family. I was lucky enough to be in China during a spring festival, and my Chinese friends and their families invited me back to their hometown. We ate so much food that we got sick, anywhere from dumplings to fish to glutinous rice balls. Any food you can imagine, you can probably find it. During the day, we prepared those colorful lanterns and we hung whatever decorations had yet to be put out. But we also prepared homemade food, and at night we lit firecrackers and shared red packets printed with the good wishes. And my favorite part was sharing the story of the Monster Nian. Seeing the tradition in two separate countries is amazing. You know, here in the States, lighting fireworks may or may not be legal, and preparing traditional dances might be a bit of a stretch. But what's amazing is both of the countries have an opportunity to share stories, prepare food, and wish your friends and family a good fortune and good luck. However you celebrate and wherever you celebrate, the best thing to take away from the festival is the culture and togetherness you and your friends get to share. And I hope that this year, all of you get to chat with your families and friends and share that Spring Festival spirit. Happy Spring Festival.
Back in my early days in Korea, Lunar New Year was the day when all of my family and cousins gathered together and ate many delicious dishes, including one of the most famous Korean foods called tteokguk. After I moved to the United States, it became very difficult for me to celebrate Lunar New Year every year. Even this year's Lunar Year will be a different experience for me and for everyone else due to the pandemic. I hope you all are staying safe and healthy, and I am confident that we can get through this together.
My first Lunar New Year or Seonal in Korea was spent at a coworker's house where I got to experience a traditional Korean New Year celebration. We had a meal where we had one of my favorite Korean foods, tteokguk, which I actually tried for the first time in a Lunar New Year celebration hosted by the Korean program at Iowa. We played games. There's this game called Yutnori that I still don't understand how to play, but it was a lot of fun, and you got to be around families and just experience that love for each other. My second Seonal or Lunar New Year in Korea was spent with friends. The foreign friends, we all went to Everland, and our Korean friends caught up later, and then we all went and got dinner together. It was a great time. This year, it looks a little different because of the changing protocols for Corona, but the sentiment stays the same, that as long as you're surrounded by friends and family celebrating the successes of the previous year and looking forward to the things to come, you're celebrating Lunar New Year the right way. So, Happy New Year! 새해 복 많이 받으세요.
Hello. I'm right now in Kochi, Japan, and right behind me is the Ushio-e Tenmangu, which is a Shinto shrine, aka Jinja, which is how they call it in Japanese, and it's also a local favorite spot for Hatsumode, aka the first shrine visit during New Year. A lot of Japanese people choose to visit the Jinja right after New Year. So basically, the main purpose for the shrine visiting is to pray for the fortune of the coming New Year. Also here we've got some amulets. Also here it's also an interesting part. These things are called omikuji, which is, I think, is a fortune ticket in English. So basically, it will tell you what's your fortune is going to be like in the upcoming year. So here I thought the only kuji I got during my Hatsumo day, and it says my fortune is going to be Daikichi, which is a big fortune, so that is a good thing, and I really wish that it's true. And if it's a good fortune, you can just take it with you, and if it's not a good fortune and you don't like it, you can just leave it in the jinja like that.
Well, all across Asia, this evening is when the family gathers together for the reunion dinner. And the ongoing pandemic has certainly posed challenges for big family gatherings this year. But we will not let that hinder us from having a virtual feast, which we are going to do so now. So in this third segment of our program, we will have a student and 2 faculty members who turned chefs this evening to present cooking demonstrations of some symbolic dishes that are eaten at this time of the year. And then at the end of the cooking demonstrations, Ras Ganem will host a discussion with the chefs. Hence, as you watch the cooking demonstrations, please post your questions for the chefs on the chat function. And they will be addressed during the discussion time. It will be your chance to pick up cooking tips from these wonderful chefs. The first chef for this evening is Theo Burns. And Theo is a 4th-year student majoring in Chinese and linguistics. In 2018, he showcased different ways to fold jiaozi, or dumplings, in the talent portion of the Midwest College Chinese Speech Competition, and he won gold. Many Chinese families, especially in northern China, have the tradition of making jiaozi as part of their New Year's Eve dinner or feast. And the shape of the dumplings resembles ancient Chinese gold and silver ingots and symbolize wealth as well as luck. So here now is Theo's award-winning dumplings.
Hi everyone, my name is Theo and I'm going to show you how to make traditional Chinese dumplings, or jiaozi. Making dumplings starts with the dough for the dumpling wrappers. We're going to combine some flour and salt in a large bowl. Use a pair of chopsticks to combine. And then, while mixing, we're going to slowly stream in some water. Keep mixing until the dough comes together in little clumps like this. And then use your hands to knead until it comes into one solid ball. Then we're going to cover this and let it rest for about 10 minutes, after which when we come back, the dough will be a lot easier to knead and will become elastic and supple very quickly. After this, we're going to cover the finished dough and let it rest for about 3 hours. Next comes the filling for the dumplings. To start, you're going to chop about half a head of cabbage, and then in a large bowl, sprinkle that with some salt, and mix and let sit for 10 minutes. This will help dry out a lot of the moisture, which we can then squeeze out using a clean towel. Next, in a large bowl, we're going to combine ground pork, green onions, garlic and ginger, salt, soy sauce, Shaoxing wine, oyster sauce, white pepper, and water. Then mix that until it comes together, adding more water as needed and not forgetting the cabbage. The final product should look something like this. Then, after 3 hours, our dough should be rested and ready to work with. Start by dividing it into 2 halves, leaving 1 half to work with, which we are going to roll out into a long log. Then, using your knife, cut it into small, even pieces. Sprinkle those pieces with flour to stop them from sticking to each other. Then use your palm, one by one, to flatten each piece into a small disc. We can store these in a plastic bag to prevent them from drying out while we work on them. Then pull one out and use a small rolling pin to roll it into a hopefully round, even circle. Then in the center of each wrapper, place a spoonful of the filling. Bring the 2 sides together and pinch, and one of our dumplings is done. Make enough that you can fill a plate or a tray or feed your whole extended family, then bring a pot of water to a boil and add in your dumpling. When the water returns to a boil, add a bowl of cold water. Repeat that process one more time. And the 3rd time the water comes to a boil, these dumplings are ready to eat. Making dumplings is a tradition in many Chinese families for the Lunar New Year. They represent wealth and luck, and they're really tasty. They're great to make with your friends and family, and I want to wish everyone here a Happy New Year. 新年快乐，恭喜发财。
Thank you, Theo. Now, Chong-Ah Park is our second chef, and Chong-Ah grew up in Seoul, Korea, and today she teaches Korean language at the Department of Asian and Slavic Languages and Literatures. And she will be making tteokguk, which is a rice cake soup for us this evening. And this is a traditional Korean New Year's dish that is eaten to bring people good luck for the year, as well as to gain a year in age.
안녕하세요. Hello everyone, I'm Park Jong-ah, and I'm teaching Korean at the Department of Asian and Slavic Languages and Literatures. Today, I'm going to show you how to cook tteokguk. It is a Korean tradition to eat tteokguk on Lunar New Year's Day. Eating tteokguk is believed to grant people good luck for the year and gain a year of age. The main ingredients of tteokguk are rice cake, beef for the broth, green onion, chopped garlic, soy sauce, salt, and pepper. First, you need to prepare the broth. Today, I made this beef broth with shank with bone. I boiled this for about an hour. You can use any other broth depending on your preference, but beef broth is the most popular for tteokguk. You also need to prepare tteok. You can buy this type of tteok at any Korean market. The rice cake you can buy at the market is a little tough, so you need to soak them in water for at least 30 minutes so that the tteok can be softened. While rice cake is softening, let me prepare the meat. I'm going to pull the meat into small pieces and season it. This meat is about 100 grams, and I'm going to put half tablespoon of soy sauce, half tablespoon of chopped garlic, and pinch of ground pepper. So I said about 1 tablespoon and a tablespoon garlic and a pinch of ground pepper. And that's it. Mix it. and set aside the seasoned beef for later. Now the broth has started boiling. It is time to put the rice cake into broth. After boiling for about 4 or 5 minutes, check the rice cakes. It looks like the rice cakes are now soft. Now you can finish up the boiling by putting the seasoned beef and chopped green onion and salt and pepper. But before you put in salt, please taste it first. We need salt and pepper. Now, as you can see, the tteokguk is ready. Most Koreans eat tteokguk with kimchi. Kimchi makes the tteokguk more flavorful. I hope everyone have a chance to make tteokguk at home. Thank you.
Thank you, Chong-ah. Okay, our third chef is Yumi Nishi, who is a specialist in Japanese linguistics at the Department of Asian and Slavic Languages and Literatures. And she has lived in different parts of the world, Japan, Australia, and now in the United States. Yumi shares with us her recipe for uzuni, or Japanese rice cake soup. Mochi, or rice cake, has long been eaten in Japan for celebrations.
Today I'm going to make one of the dishes everyone in Japan eats on New Year's Day. We celebrate the New Year on January 1st. This is the most important holiday in Japan when all family members get together and celebrate with osechi ryori, special dishes packed in chubako like this one. These are lacquered layered boxes. Osechi tends to be a mixture of homemade dishes and store-bought items, but you can also order a complete set from traditional Japanese restaurants, department stores, supermarkets, or even convenience stores. But there is one dish that everyone makes at home on New Year's Day. That is ozoni, New Year's mochi soup, which is what we are going to make today. Ozoni is one of the dishes that is very regional. In the western regions, mochi tends to be round, and in the east, it's rectangle. The type of broth and what goes in the soup can vary from region to region, family to family. Today we use chicken, daikon, carrot, taro roots, dried shiitake mushroom, watercress for garnish, and dried bonito flakes for the broth, and mochi of course. And for seasoning we use soy sauce, sake, and salt. Let's start with the shiitake. Dried shiitake needs to be soaked in water, preferably overnight in the refrigerator or at least for a few hours at room temperature. When they are soft, you cut off the stems. These are already soaked overnight. Next, peel taro and cut them in half. You cook them in a microwave until they're about 80% cooked. So these are cooked for about 2 minutes and they should be soft enough for a skewer to go through, but they should be firm. Here I have cut and peeled daikon and carrot. I'm going to parboil them. Now, let's make the broth. You bring the water to boil. While the water is boiling, you can cut the chicken. I have chicken breast here, but you can also use chicken thigh. Now the water is boiling, so I'm going to add the bonito flakes. They are added. You can turn off the heat. And you let it sit for a few minutes until the bonito flakes sink to the bottom. Now we're going to strain the broth. I have a strainer and a paper towel on top. You don't want to strain, you don't want to squeeze the flakes because it can ruin the clarity of the soup as well as the delicate flavor of the broth. Now the broth goes back to the pot. And we bring this to a boil. To season, add sake first. Soy sauce. I'm using the light soy sauce, but you can also use regular soy sauce. And a little bit of salt. I'm adding the vegetables and chicken now. While the vegetable and chicken are cooking, I'm going to grill my mochi. I'm using my panini maker, but you can shimmer it, or you can cook it in simmering water, or you can use a microwave. You want to grill mochi until it's about to burst. You want to stop it before it bursts. So this is about done. See how it's plump but hasn't exploded. So you put this in a bowl, serving bowl. Now the vegetables and chicken are cooked. Make sure that the taro is soft. And then I'm going to transfer the vegetables and chicken in the serving bowl. And then you add a little bit of watercress to substitute mitsuba, which is an herb. お雑煮ができました。
Those videos were absolutely fantastic. I can't believe how hungry I am. I'm sure the rest of you are too. I mean, it's just to see all of the ingredients and the presentation and just the care and tradition with which these dishes are prepared. It really is just a wonderful sight to see. And so now I'm going to be able to live out one of my dreams. I love cooking shows, and I've never been on a cooking show, but now I get to moderate one. And so, and I also, it sort of reminded me, and I'm dating myself a little bit. There's a show that I used to like about 20 years ago called Iron Chef, came out of Japan. I don't know if any of you have seen that, but it's a cooking competition. And the videos kind of reminded me of Iron Chef. They had an Iron Chef Japanese, Iron Chef Chinese, an Iron Chef French, and an Iron Chef Italian on occasion. But this is great because there's no competition. we're all winners by learning about these traditions and by obviously taking part in these recipes and in the dining experience as well. So let me ask Theo, Jung-ah, and Yumi, what do you like most about these particular dishes? Maybe I'll ask Theo first. What do you find especially significant or meaningful about the dumplings?
Well, Professor Cho mentioned before my video that dumplings, the shape of them is similar to ancient Chinese currency, gold and silver ingots. And so they're meant to symbolize wealth and luck as you enter into the new year. But to me, what's been most significant about dumplings since I learned about the tradition of eating dumplings for the new year is just the image of a whole family in the kitchen together, everyone participating in folding the dumplings and then eventually all eating them together. Because I think for the Chinese celebrating the Lunar New Year, definitely the family reunion is the most important part.
Right. So definitely the conviviality and just the shared experience. Oh, thank you, Theo. Jung-ah, same question. Why is this particular dish meaningful to you?
Okay, so the tteokguk that I showed how to make is a representative dish for the Korean New Year's Day. But I actually cook this dish very frequently at home. The reason is that tteokguk is such a simple dish, yet it is very delicious with hot soup. So on a cold day like today in Iowa, the soup will help warm up your body. And also the dish can be prepared very quickly. So if I feel hungry and I don't have much the time for preparing for a long time, then I often make the dish for me, myself, and my family.
Very good. And I'm sure that the kimchi also helps warm you up because it's so spicy.
Probably.
Very good, very good. And Yumi, same question for the mochi soup.
Oh, hi. So every family has its own recipe when it comes to ozoni. So it's something that reminds me of where I come from. And my recipe is not something that was passed on in the family for generations, but it has its own story that reflects my family background, upbringings, and most importantly, like my mother's philosophy for food, eating, and cooking.
Wonderful. So those family connections and then traditions and just sort of where you're from in Japan too. Great. And so the next question is, I'm actually going to combine two questions, and that is, what are the most important ingredients in your respective dishes, and what are your secrets for preparing these dishes? Theo, most important ingredients, and what little tricks do you have for us?
I think one of the best things about jiaozi is that there is no most important ingredient, because you can put whatever you like inside of them. So I would definitely say the most important ingredient is patience, because if you don't wait it long enough for the dough to rest before you try to work with it, you're just going to have a very hard time. But and then any tips for preparing? I don't know. I'm no dumpling master. You can go on the internet to find many more qualified dumpling makers, but yeah, I don't know. This was my first time making the dumpling wrappers from scratch, but I did my best, and my tips would be to just try it and do your best and have fun.
No, you did a really good job. I was in China one time, and part of the experience involved making dumplings, and I was terrible at it. I mean, I just completely messed it up. And so though I was looking at the way you folded the dumplings and kind of crimped around the edges, you did a terrific job because that's the part that I couldn't do. It was like sort of rolling it out and filling it. That was okay. But, getting them in the right shape, sort of like the gold coins, I failed that miserably. So for the first time, I mean, I think I thought you did a terrific job. Jong-ah, same question. For you, what are the most important ingredients, and what secrets do you have?
Okay, so in the cooking demo video, actually I mentioned that this tteokguk can be cooked with various broths, like beef, chicken, and vegetables, and Korean anchovies. So you can choose which whatever broth you like, and make it this tteokguk with those dishes. And I recommend use the soup soy sauce to season your soup. So soup soy sauce. So in Korea, we use two different types of soy sauce. One is for the soup, and the other is for everything else. And this soup soy sauce can make your soup more deeper taste, I think. So I recommend you use soup soy sauce.
Very good. And one other question along those lines: what do you drink with the tteokguk?
What we drink? You mean the alcohol or
alcohol or anything? I mean, is there a traditional beverage that accompanies this dish?
Well, so this tteokguk usually eat with the family members when we get together the New Year's Day. So to kind of celebrate the gathering, we usually accompany with this dish with Korean traditional the alcohol, which is soju or the rice wine, things like that. But I like the makgeolli the most if I want to drink something with tteokguk.
Very good, very good. And how about you, Yumi, with the mochi soup? What are the important ingredients, and what are your secrets?
So it's not ingredients, but you need a good broth, and it doesn't matter what kind, but yeah, you need a good broth. And as a chef, I need to clarify something. So I said in the video that I used light soy sauce, but it shouldn't be confused with reduced sodium.
Okay.
So it's the light colored one.
I understand.
Yeah.
So it's a little clearer,
Yeah, yeah, and it has actually higher sodium content.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Than the
Very
regular
good. Very good. We do have some time for questions from the audience, and so let me ask the first question that I see here, and that was I think it's for Theo and the dumplings. How many cups of flour were used to make the dumplings in the first video? And yeah, that's a good question, because it was I wasn't quite clear on the quantity either. So Theo, could you maybe explain that a little bit?
So when I made it, I used a ratio of 3 cups of flour to 1 cup of water. But for the best results, you should make dumplings with more flour and less water. 4-to-1 ratio is ideal, but that makes the dough a lot harder to knead and a lot harder to come together. And so I thought for a beginner like myself, it might be easier to start with a higher water content.
Very good. Another question, which I thought was really interesting: are there certain foods that you are not supposed to eat during the Lunar New Year celebration? Are there some foods that are just off limits that might, bring bad luck or ill health or something like that?
I don't think we don't have that kind of dish for the New Year's Day, but when we prepared the big table for our ancestors, we don't that we use less the garlic, because garlic might hinder to our ancestors, the ghosts come to us. So we try not to too much garlic to make the food.
Very good, very good. No, I can. Right. And I guess, and one person said, you are not supposed to eat too much food. Ha ha. So, indeed, I think probably everything is allowed, at least in some cases. Another question about the dumplings is this. So when you cut the slices, Theo, the shape was very aesthetically pleasing. And we wondered, or the questioner wondered, if you had a unique way of slicing the dumplings.
What I've seen is just that you should use one hand to roll the dough back and forth slightly while you're slicing it. I think it helps when it comes out in those sort of triangle shapes to produce a more round shape when you flatten them, and it also might help keep them an even size.
All right, very good. And one thing that I might add, just from my personal experience, is that I've seen dumplings in the shape of animals. So for example, I went to a dumpling restaurant once in Xi'an, and the chicken dumplings were in the shape of chickens. The fish dumplings were in the shape of fish. They even had sweet dumplings, like a walnut dumpling as well. So it was kind of cool. I mean, my guess is that the shaping is an art form in and of itself. Just one note before I close things and make my toast to everyone. I did want to let everyone know that these recipes will be posted online, that we have recorded the proceedings, and that everything will appear on IP's website, probably within the next 7 to 10 days. We'll need to caption the videos, and but you will have access to these recipes, and we certainly hope that you will try them at home at some point in the not too distant future. Very good. Perhaps one final question, and that is the Korean traditional meal accompanied by something else? Jung-ah.
I mean, traditional milk?
Right.
This tteokguk you are talking about.
Oh, right.
Okay.
So with the kimchi, is there anything else that goes with it?
Well, you can eat any other side dishes. So kimchi is one of the side dishes that you can eat with together.
Very good.
And yeah, any other side dishes can get together, and it goes well with like some vegetables, the cooked vegetables and something like that.
Yes, wonderful. Well, listen, thank you. Could everyone join me in applauding our three chefs? We could just do a virtual applause. This is great, and I'll ask everyone to switch on their video, because I want to give give some closing remarks, and then we will toast all of our participants. So I did a little bit of research, and I found that the year of the ox, which is actually my year as well, I was born in 1961, just so you know, that the ox is strong, reliable, fair, conscientious, inspires confidence in others. And so as we make a New Year's resolution, let's try to embody the best qualities of the ox. So strength, reliability, fairness, conscientiousness, and inspiration to others. And so please let me thank our participants, our panelists, our communications and relations staff in IP, Dongwang Liu, and especially Cynthia Chow, our director of the Center for Asian and Pacific Studies, whose idea this was to celebrate together, albeit virtually. So if you have a glass, it doesn't matter what's in it. I just have water. I want to raise a toast and say, 新年快乐, Happy New Year.